Have you ever felt it? A deep, persistent, humming tension behind your eyes. A tightness in your chest that has nothing to do with your lungs and everything to do with your life. It's the feeling of pushing a very, very large stone up a very, very steep hill. And you wake up each morning and the stone is a few feet lower than where you left it. And so you put your shoulder back into it, you brace your feet, and you begin to push again. You tell yourself, this is what it means to live. This is discipline. This is progress. This is what one does to earn their place, to build a life, to find happiness, to receive blessings. You have a list, don't you? Perhaps not on paper, but etched into the back of your mind. A list of things you must do, be, and achieve to finally allow the universe to grant you what you seek. You must be more productive, so you follow the advice of 7 different productivity gurus. You must be more spiritual, so you meditate for precisely 20 minutes, even when your mind is a screaming hornet's nest. You must be more attractive, more wealthy, more charismatic. You work on yourself like a sculptor hammering away at a block of marble, convinced that perfection is hiding somewhere inside. And once you chip away all the flawed pieces, the masterpiece and its rewards will finally be revealed. And yet, you are so tired. A kind of tired that sleep doesn't touch. A spiritual exhaustion. The stone gets heavier. The hill gets steeper, and the blessings you're working so hard for feel like a mirage in a desert you've been wandering for 40 years. You see others who don't seem to be pushing at all, and things just fall into their laps. You watch them laugh, seemingly without a care, and a quiet, bitter voice inside you whispers, "Why not me? I'm doing everything right. I'm following all the rules." And this is the great secret sorrow you carry, the profound, soul-crushing suspicion that you are doing it all wrong, that you are fundamentally broken, that you are somehow, in some cosmic way, unworthy of the grace that seems to visit others so effortlessly. But what if I were to tell you that your exhaustion is not a sign of your failure? What if this profound sense of futility is not evidence of your brokenness, but the first shimmering, painful proof of your sanity? What if the one, single, all-consuming thing you are doing, the very thing you believe is the key to unlocking everything you desire, is in fact the lock itself? What if the monumental effort of pushing that stone is the very thing preventing you from realizing you were meant to fly? You are not blocking your blessings because you are lazy or unworthy. You are blocking them because you are trying to earn them. You are trying to control their arrival. And the universe, in its infinite, playful wisdom, does not deal in transactions. It deals in resonance. It deals in dance. And you cannot dance if your every muscle is tensed for a fight. Let's talk about the game. From the moment you were old enough to understand words, you were taught the rules of a very peculiar game. The game is called more. The primary rule is that where you are is never enough. The person you are is never quite complete. The present moment is merely a stepping stone to a better future moment. Your parents, with the best of intentions, taught you this. Your teachers reinforced it with grades and gold stars. Society built a towering, glittering cathedral to this belief, with advertisements as its hymns and success stories as its scriptures. The message was woven into the very fabric of your upbringing. Life is a problem to be solved, a ladder to be climbed, a battle to be won. And you, as a good and earnest player, took this to heart. You learned to see your own life from the outside, as a project to be managed. You became the chief executive officer of You Incorporated. Your mission, to maximize returns, mitigate risks, and achieve a steady, upward-trending graph of happiness and success. You learned to bargain with reality. If I sacrifice my joy for the next 5 years and work this soul-crushing job, then I will be rewarded with security. If I contort my personality to please this person, then I will be rewarded with love. If I follow this 10-step spiritual plan flawlessly, then the universe will be obligated to grant me enlightenment. Every action became a calculated investment for a future payoff. You stopped eating a meal and started fueling your body. You stopped going for a walk and started getting your steps in. You stopped talking to a friend and started networking. Your entire existence has been transformed into a series of strategic maneuvers designed to force life to give you what you want. And you wonder why you feel so disconnected. You wonder why you feel a constant low-grade hum of anxiety. It is the anxiety of the manager who fears things might slip from his control. It is the exhaustion of the strategist who must constantly anticipate 1,000 variables. The so-called blessings of life, love, creativity, peace, joy, synchronicity, they are not commodities to be acquired. They are not wages paid for hard labor. They are wildflowers. They grow in the soil of acceptance, in the sunlight of presence. And what you have been doing with all your planning and striving and forcing is paving over the field and then demanding to know why the flowers won't grow. Your frustration is not a personal failing. It is the cry of a wild, natural soul being forced to live in a concrete box of its own making. It is the entirely sane reaction of a living organism to an insane set of rules. You feel like you are failing at the game, but the truth is you are beginning to see with terrifying clarity that the game itself is rigged. The game itself is the cause of the suffering. And the only winning move is to stop playing. The problem is not you. The problem is the pushing. This is the great revelation, the turning of the key. And it will feel, at first, like the most terrifying thing in the world. Because everything you've identified as a flaw or a weakness is, in fact, a crack in the prison wall, letting the light in. Let's look at them one by one. You feel a profound lack of motivation, a kind of procrastination that feels like a moral failing. You see the ambitious people, the go-getters, and you feel shame for your own inertia. But what if this isn't laziness? What if it is a deep, instinctual wisdom? What if your soul is simply on strike? It is refusing to participate in meaningless effort. It is refusing to push the stone another inch up the hill. This so-called procrastination is your inner self saying, "No, I will not expend my precious, finite life force on tasks that are not aligned with my truth. I will not trade my vitality for a goal that society manufactured for me." It is a sacred rebellion. It is the beginning of energetic integrity. You aren't lazy. You are becoming exquisitely selective about where you place your attention. You are no longer willing to build a cage, even if the world calls that cage a career. The blessing of purpose doesn't come from forcing yourself to do what you think you should do. It reveals itself in the quiet space you create when you stop doing what you shouldn't. You feel lonely, but it's a strange kind of loneliness. It's not the absence of people, it's the presence of masks. You go to social gatherings and you listen to the conversations, and it feels like you are watching a play where everyone has memorized their lines except you. They talk about their promotions, their new cars, their vacations, the grammar of the game. And you try to play along, but your heart isn't in it. You feel a vast, aching chasm between the words being spoken and the truth you feel humming in the room. This feeling of alienation is not a sign that you are socially awkward or broken. It is a sign that your hearing is becoming more acute. You are beginning to hear the music behind the words, the silent scream of desperation behind the cheerful facade. You are no longer satisfied with the script. Your loneliness is the byproduct of a sensitivity that can no longer tolerate the superficial. It's the ache of a deep soul longing for a deep connection, and it is 1,000 times more noble than the hollow comfort of pretending. You think you are blocking the blessing of connection, but in truth, you are clearing the space for a real one. You are becoming an unsuitable conversational partner for illusion, and in doing so, you become a sanctuary for truth. You feel indecisive, paralyzed by choice. The world presents you with 1,000 paths, and you are terrified of choosing the wrong one. You analyze, you make pro and con lists, you ask for advice, but the fear remains. This isn't a flaw in your character. This is the logical outcome of believing that you are the sole architect of your destiny. You are carrying a weight that no human was ever meant to carry, the burden of omniscience. You are trying to predict the future. You are trying to control the 10,000 twists and turns of the river from a small rowboat, armed only with a paddle and a map you drew yourself. The paralysis you feel is your mind short-circuiting from the impossible task. The blessing of a path unfolding doesn't come from choosing correctly. It comes from realizing you are not the one doing the choosing. There is a deeper intelligence at work, a current that flows through you. Alan Watts spoke of this as wu wei, of effortless action. It is not about doing nothing, it is about acting in harmony with the flow of things, like a boatman who adjusts his sail to the wind rather than trying to row against a hurricane. Your indecision is a sign that the ego, the little captain of your rowboat, is finally admitting, "I don't know." And in that admission, in that surrender, a greater wisdom can finally begin to steer. You feel an overwhelming sense of disappointment or cynicism. You look at the world, at the institutions, at the promises of happiness, and you see the cracks. You see the hypocrisy. You see the game. This isn't you being negative. This is you being clear-eyed. A child believes in Santa Claus, and there is a beautiful innocence in that. But there comes a point where seeing that it's just your father in a red suit is a necessary step into maturity. You are at that stage. You are seeing the strings on the puppets. Your cynicism is not a sickness. It is the shedding of a culturally enforced naivete. It is the painful but necessary disillusionment that precedes true seeing. You are no longer willing to consume the comforting lies you are fed. This allows you to taste something far more nourishing, the raw, unvarnished, and often chaotic truth of what is. The blessing of clarity doesn't feel warm and fuzzy at first. It feels cold and sharp. But it is with this sharp instrument that you can finally cut yourself free from the nets of illusion that have kept you trapped for so long. This process, this great undoing, is a journey from effort to grace. Think of a Chinese finger trap. The harder you pull, the tighter it grips. Your instinct, your training, your entire life has taught you to pull, to struggle, to exert force. And it has only trapped you more deeply. The solution is so counterintuitive that it feels like madness. You must relax. You must gently push your fingers in towards the center. You must move in the opposite direction of your panic. You must, in essence, surrender to the trap to be freed from it. This is the posture you are learning. Every time you catch yourself striving, forcing, planning, and worrying, you are pulling on the trap. The invitation is to gently, just for a moment, do the opposite, to soften, to release your grip on the outcome, to exhale. Imagine yourself as a gardener. You have a tiny, precious seed. You believe the blessing is the magnificent flower it is destined to become. So you do everything by the book. You read 100 articles on soil pH and watering schedules. You plant the seed and then you hover over it. You worry. Is it getting enough sun? Too much. The next day you see no sprout, so you dig it up just to check if it's still there. You poke it, you prod it. You are trying to force it to grow. You are loving it to death with your control. The real work of the gardener is not to force the bloom. It is to create the conditions for the bloom to happen on its own. It is to trust the intelligence within the seed. Your work is to tend the soil of your own being, to be present, to be kind to yourself, to rest, and then to let go. The striving, the checking, the forcing, that is the doing that blocks the blessing. The blessing is the natural, inevitable result of your trust in the process. And so a quietness begins to settle in your soul. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of a mind that has ceased its incessant chatter of planning and fixing. You stop fighting the current of the river of life. You lie back, and you realize with a gasp of astonished relief that you can float. And the river was always, always carrying you home. You stop trying to play the symphony of your life note perfectly, and you begin to improvise. You hit a few wrong notes, and you discover they are not wrong at all. They are simply unexpected paths to a new kind of harmony. You stop hunting for the butterfly of happiness, and one day, while you are quietly observing a flower in your garden, it comes and rests gently on your shoulder. This is not a passive existence. It is an active surrender. It is the highest form of participation. You engage with life fully, but you release your white-knuckled grip on the results. You do the work that is in front of you with love and attention. But you understand that the outcome is not in your hands. It is in the hands of the whole universe. And the universe has a far more magnificent imagination than your little ego ever could. The solitude may deepen for a time, because the people who are still frantically pushing their stones up the hill will not understand your peace. They will mistake your serenity for apathy. They will see your trust as recklessness. Let them. You are no longer performing for an audience. You are living an authentic life. And that is a lonely path at first, but it leads to a communion with everything. So the next time you feel that familiar tension, that urge to push, to control, to strategize your way to a blessing, pause. Take a breath. Notice the feeling in your body. Notice the tightness in your jaw, the clench in your stomach. That is the feeling of you blocking you. And in that moment of noticing, you have a choice. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to force yourself to relax. That is just another kind of pushing. Simply see it, acknowledge it, like an old anxious friend. And then, gently, bring your attention to your breath, to the feeling of the air entering and leaving your body without any effort on your part. Your breathing is a blessing that has been arriving perfectly every moment of your life, without you ever having to earn it. It is the great secret hiding in plain sight. You don't need to get blessings, you only need to stop getting in their way. Let go of the stone. The sky is waiting.